What's going on? Kevin Yates here, Yates Performance Training, finishing up incline presses and T-bar rows, just some good old-fashioned push-pull workout today. But I wanted to talk to you about I'm going to share 5 neuro drills to help fix shoulder pain nervous system drills, which what we're talking about is having to do with working with the brain and the nervous system and helping to fix shoulder pain. So before I get into this video, I want to make sure that I preface this with saying that this video is for anybody who has shoulder pain and who has tried pretty much everything from exercises, rehab exercises, to strengthening type exercises, corrective exercises, to things like foam rolling and mobility exercises, to seeing your doctor and your doctor can't find anything wrong with you, to cortisone shots or pain medications and all these different things, and nothing has fixed the problem. You still have shoulder pain. If that's what you're going through, any of those things, if that rings a bell, then you're in the right place. If you are just looking for shoulder exercises, tell me what exercise and what stretches I need to do, turn it off, turn the video off, and look somewhere else. And I'm saying that because it seems like no matter how many times I say that in other videos, I still get a comment or a couple comments from people saying, oh, all you did was talk about this and that. You didn't give anything, because what they're looking for is for me to tell you, do this exercise, do that stretch. And the problem with it is that if you tried all these things and they're not fixing the problem, it's because there's a deeper problem that's going on that your pain has to do with. And if we don't look deeper than beyond just the exercising and stretching, then the likelihood that you're going to fix the problem is like zero. It's not going to happen in all likelihood. So this is a video where I'm going to address 5 brain and nervous system drills that you can use that can help fix shoulder pain. I've been doing this for over 23 years, and I've seen just how powerful this stuff really is. And the reason why I want to do this is because I'm sick and tired of people being told that they can't do the activities that they love anymore because they're in pain. So, people with shoulder pain, they can't play golf anymore, or they can't lift weights anymore, or, you shouldn't be doing this or avoid doing that. And, and it's like, we've got to just learn to look a little bit deeper, because if we do, we can identify the underlying issues that are triggering the problem with pain. And if we can find those issues, then we can fix them. And if we can fix them, then we can keep doing the things that we love to do, instead of being told that we have to stop doing these things and give them up because of old age, right? So let's get into that. And real quickly before I get into these things, so I will do my best to make sure that I list the descriptions of what I'm talking about in here. I can't explain everything step by step. It's too much. But I will put links or post links in the description box below to everything that I can find. Now, keep in mind, I don't have time to go through. I have a lot of videos on this channel. I don't have time to go through every single video and link every single thing, for you. So if there's a couple things missing or one thing missing, then look through the videos. You can find them if you're willing to look, but you gotta be willing to look. So, if you don't see something on there, save the comment. Don't leave a comment, you didn't do this, or you're not giving that, or please save it and look. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. So let's get into it. So 5 nervous system drills to help fix shoulder pain. Number 1, I've talked about this before in a previous video. And again, if you're still watching, then this will hopefully connect with you a little bit more, because we're looking beyond just exercises and stretches. We have to look and understand that the cause of pain is not your shoulder. So just because you have shoulder pain doesn't mean your shoulder's the problem. Pain in the body is caused by something that we call threat. Threat is just basically when we've got too much input coming into the brain and the nervous system, and it can't effectively deal with it. And so it can trigger things like pain. And I know that sometimes that's hard to kind of grasp, because it doesn't always make sense, because we've been taught to believe that if you have shoulder pain, you do shoulder exercises. If you go to physical rehabilitation and you got a shoulder problem, they're going to treat your shoulder. If you have a knee problem, they treat the knee. But we have to, again, we've got to look deeper, especially when those types of exercises and things are not working. Doing more of the same thing isn't going to make it any better. So we have to look at decreasing threat. So what is threat? So some of the things that can happen, and threat is not just high cortisol. Somebody left a comment on the previous video I did. Oh, the threat, that's all it is high cortisol. No, it's not. High cortisol and, sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight type stuff is a response that can happen to threat or because of threat, but it's caused by threat, it's not threat itself. So hopefully that makes sense. So some of the things that can trigger pain, and we're looking to reduce the number of these things. So the more of these, if you're going, oh yeah, okay, that's probably identifies with me, then that's something you've got to look into. So one of those things, obviously, nutrition, right? If you're eating foods and it doesn't mean that you're just eating a bad diet. That's one thing. Sometimes you could be eating foods that are quote unquote healthy, but they might not be healthy for you. Your body might not digest them well. It can cause irritation of the digestive system, inflammation, bloating, allergic type, allergy type responses and things like that can trigger pain in the body. So nutrition is an important thing to consider. Another thing is digestion. It's like I just said, you could be eating healthy, but if your digestive system isn't able to effectively break down and process what you're putting in, that also can lead to and trigger pain in the body, even shoulder pain. Other things like, just not enough sleep, not enough recovery time. If there is too much stress going on, you're working all hours of the day or, just a heavy ton of work type stress. I mean, I know it's not easy to just get rid of it because, you've got work and you've got things that, are part of life. But what I am saying is that there are things that we can do to at least reduce the overall threat that our body's taking on, right? That the system takes on. So those are the things, relationship type issues. I mean, this can go on and on. So poor movement patterns are something as well. So yeah, if we don't move well, that can increase the threat and lead to problems, poor posture and things like that. So there are some things that are related to movement that can be part of the problem. So those are just some things to consider. You've got to decrease as much as possible the threats that are coming into the system, okay? And I won't have video descriptions of that because it's pretty much self-explanatory. All right, so now I will get into some things that do have to do with movement and exercise, but more specifically, it's not like they're just related to the exercise themselves, but the way that they help deal with the brain and the nervous system. So, and I won't get into all the science of it. That's just as much as I can really say and kind of keep this video, digestible. So one of the things that I do like to use is isometrics, okay? Now, isometrics can be useful, especially with shoulder pain, because if you have, let's say you have an issue with the shoulder where you get pain where you lift your arm overhead. And so you can always do things with isometric holds. Because look, even if we have pain, it's like we want to do the things that we can do instead of thinking, well, I can't do any upper body type work because my shoulder hurts. And what we can do though is we can work specifically in certain areas of movements that can help the brain feel safe and not trigger a pain response in the shoulder. Just because we're using the arm, right? Or using the shoulder. So isometrics can come in and help because we can hold certain movements such as, if you did a push-up or a press, like a midpoint hold, or a pull, like a row. And again, you could do the same thing, a midpoint pull, hold, you can go all the way, but you stay out of the pain zone. So you kind of work in ranges where your shoulder can move without pain or with minimum pain. And by working in those isometric areas, what happens is that we get about a 15 to 30 degree carryover. So if I do a movement only halfway, that movement can carry over about 15 degrees further if I moved it one direction and 15 degrees further in the other direction. And over time, if we can continue to be able to work in that range, we can improve our mobility, which will help to decrease pain, because as mobility improves, pain starts to decrease over time. So isometrics are a good way to do that. And I just explained, it's very basic with that. No video description really needed on that one. Another thing that I like to do is I like to use resistance bands and chains. And I know that might sound kind of crazy, but some of the things we can do with those things, they're very versatile. So like with resistance bands, there's a number of different things that we can do. And the great thing about bands, and I've got them all on the wall behind me, is that they allow us the freedom to move in a way that our body's comfortable with. So, if we get on machines and do those types of things, machines are in a fixed kind of range of motion. If your body doesn't move or your shoulder doesn't move naturally and normally through that range of motion, you can get pain. So resistance bands it accommodates our natural range of motion. And so we're more likely to be able to find movements that we could do with bands without pain. Some of the exercises I like, and I know I said this is not an exercise video, and it's not, but I know I'm going to get some people watching who are like, just give me an exercise I can do. But it's more specifically related to processing in the brain and nervous system to help decrease threat. So up and overs. And I will list that one in the description. So I love up and overs. It's a great mobility type exercise for the brain and nervous system, and works through the glenohumeral joint or the ball and socket joint of the shoulder, which is where a lot of problems, sometimes we feel pain in there. There's also like banded face pulls. We can do these from multiple different angles, high, low, one arm, two arm, all different ranges. I like those. And I like band pull aparts as well. So these are things that start to work more with like the shoulder blade and on the rib cage and the thoracic spine. The thoracic spine is basically below the neck and above the lower back. In that area of the spine, a lot of times, especially if you sit at a desk, if you're sitting in an office or behind a computer or driving a lot during the day, and our thoracic spine can get stuck and it doesn't extend. Now, there's not a lot of extension that normally that our thoracic spine has, but it needs to have enough to help accommodate shoulder movement. And if it doesn't, a lot of times we get shoulder pain. And again, we think we have a shoulder problem when a lot of times the issue's with our T-spine. So those are just a few of the things. And then chains. Chains are great because what they will do is they will allow for to unload or make a movement easier in the harder part of the movement, where it's typically a part where we have more stress on the shoulder, and therefore we become more prone to like pain or injury. And then it'll make the movement harder as the movement becomes easier. So for an example, if I was to do a bench press, if I have chains on the bar, when I bring the bar down toward the bottom, then the chains are going to unload at the bottom, so there's less stress on the shoulder joint. And then as I push up, the chains are going to add more load to the bar and make it harder as I go up. So this is, from halfway to the extensions, the easier part of the movement. The chains make that harder, and they make it easier in the more harder part of the movement, or where we're most prone, especially with the shoulder. Those are areas that tend to be more sensitive to pain, with those types of movements. So, chains are a really cool kind of tool that you can use, but again, they're not very practical for everybody. And if you go to a gym, I don't know of a gym that's going to have chains if you're not in like a private gym or something like that. But it's just, you can order them. I got my own here, at my place, and I use them a lot and I love them. So again, just options to use. So we talked about that. So now we'll go a little deeper into the neuro drills. So one of the drills is, and I've got a video on this one called muscle mapping. And basically what muscle mapping does, when we do muscle mapping, we target kind of specific areas within pushing patterns or pulling patterns, depending on which type of movement you're going to do, either for a workout if you have one planned, or what areas or which movements you have more shoulder pain with, when you're pulling, when you're pushing. So what muscle mapping does, it basically helps to reestablish normal, healthy movement from the brain to the body. The brain basically has like a map within it of how we move. And when we have pain, a lot of times we're losing access to a full range of movement. And like I said before, the more limited we get in mobility or movement, then the more likely it is we're going to experience pain. So muscle mapping is a way to help kind of clarify the movement map and restore some normal, healthy movement back to the body by activating certain areas of the brain that have to do with movement. So I will include videos for that one. And then we've got joint mobilization. So, this isn't just like stretching, type things. So with joint mobilizations, what we're doing is we are specifically working with the brain and nervous system. So it's different than like stretching, okay? So we're stretching, you can improve your mobility and movement through stretching. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but the problem with it is that if it works, you have to do it like time and time and time again. You have to keep doing it all the time to maintain the results that you get. It takes longer to see benefits that will stick, and it takes a long time usually. So when we work with the brain and nervous system, it's the fastest system in the body, and it changes like that. So if we hit the nervous system the right way, we can get a decrease in pain and or an improvement in movement like that, and it will stick a lot longer. With joint mobilizations, that's what we're looking to do. So some of the key areas and things that we can do when we work with this are things like working like shoulder circles. So, just keeping the arms straight and doing some shoulder circles. There's all different kind of directions we can do those. I think I do have a video with that, I'll link. Shoulder circles, there's like elbow kind of circles. I don't know if I have that one. And there's wrist. So we can do like figure 8 things with the wrist. Got to understand that some of the sensitive areas where we have more like receptors in our body that are sensitive to pain-inducing receptors, or nociceptors, are areas like the shoulder, the elbow, the wrist, the hand. So when we give good feedback by doing some of this mobility work to those areas, it's communicating to the brain and the nervous system that, hey, I can move and I don't have to hurt. I can do these movements safely, so we're less likely to get pain. So those are some of the joint mobilizations I like. Also thoracic glides. So doing like glides for like the shoulder blades and the T-spine, those work really, really well as well. So, and then finally, the last neuro drill to help fix shoulder pain is manual sensory stimulation. So basically, it's different than like a foam roll or stretching, where, what I found is that, if we stretch too much, or if we foam roll certain areas, if you ever got on a foam roll and it's like sensitive and it makes you grimace, what that does is that increases threat in the body. And so when we have threat, it can actually increase pain. It could decrease mobility, decrease strength, and almost make us worse rather than better. And it's not very comfortable to go through. So instead, when we do things like a manual sensory stimulation, where we can just roll up a towel or grab like a soft tennis ball and just kind of rub it around all the area of the shoulder. What that does is it helps to send a sensory input to the brain and nervous system. And that alone sometimes can help decrease pain. I have seen and worked with people who we've gotten full range of motion out of the shoulder when they had maybe half that range, or maybe a little bit more of that, and they were stuck. And it went like that. And just by doing sensory stim, they got full range of motion without pain, just like that. So, the thing to kind of keep in mind is that these 3 things work together. The sensory stim, that kind of input helps to improve the joint mobility that I talked about with mobilizations, so that mobilizations can work. And then mobilizations help improve or make it so that we can move our joints better. So something like muscle mapping will work better. So those things kind of go hand in hand. Anyway, so that's it. I know this video was long, but if you've been dealing with shoulder pain, I think it's worth a watch. And again, I'll do my best to link as many of these things that I talked about in the description box below. In the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, leave it down below. And hopefully this helps kind of put you in the right direction and gives you some tools that you can use to help fix shoulder pain. You got to remember, it's not just exercises that we need. Exercise is important, yes. Movement and mobility are important. And exercising and stretching are tools that we can use. I'm not saying not to, but if you tried all these things and they're not working, we've got to understand there's a deeper issue at play when it comes to pain and injuries. And if we don't identify and address those issues, then what happens is our pain gets worse over time, not better. And then we have to give up doing things that we love to do. So instead of that, hopefully some or all of these tools in this video have helped you and will help you, fix your shoulder pain so that you can keep doing the things you love to do in your 40s, 50s, and beyond without pain and without limits. So thanks for watching. Until next time, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel here, and I will talk to you soon.